Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Today is July the 6th, 2020, and it's the 114th day of the virus. And we have jumped into one little verse in Matthew chapter 14, where Jesus is going to walk on water. But before he does that, he sends the disciples out in a boat before him to the other side. And then Matthew 14:23, and after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And we have jumped into the concept of the Trinity, and so we have Jesus here separated from the Father in a certain sort of a way. He came down a long way to earth. Philippians chapter 2, that he made himself nothing, taking on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death on a cross. So because of this coming down, Jesus needs to pray. Now, I don't think at this moment in time, and for eternities past, Jesus was praying because he was with the Father, with the Spirit, in a maybe physical, spiritual, tangible, the way Scripture describes it is he's at the right hand of the Father. So they're all together, three persons all together, and Jesus doesn't need to pray because he's right there. So I think prayer by definition means something at a distance. So that's where we find Jesus, on a mountain, alone, and praying, reaching out to his buddies in the Trinity with their unique personhoods and godheads and personalities and characters. So he's building that unity that he's had in time eternal that he has temporarily laid aside so that he could come down and help us. So my point is, I don't think in history past, before people were around, and before Jesus came down, that he needed to pray because he was with the Spirit and with the Father. Nor does Jesus need to pray now. I think it's inaccurate to say that Jesus is praying now. Now he does intercede, and he is at hand with the Father. Beautiful verse in Romans chapter 8, that the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought. We don't know what to pray for and maybe even how to pray. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God, which is just so encouraging. So we find Jesus at the right hand of the Father, and the Spirit here interceding for us. And we are weak and don't know what to pray, maybe content-wise, maybe we don't know the method. And then we almost have the Godhead filling in the blanks, filling in with even a new language, a groaning spiritual Godhead prayer language amongst the three of them. In other words, it seems like he's fixing. If we get this wrong, it seems like he's fixing this. He's helping us. He's interceding for us. He wants us to pray. All right. So I want to tell you just a little story. So in high school, I broke up with a girl shortly before prom, and then all the people had kind of asked their dates. And so by the time I got around to asking people who were not my previous girlfriend, they had dates. So I asked a couple girls to prom that I forget if they said no. They probably said no, or they were previously committed. But the good news is I ended up going to prom with the prettiest girl in our high school. So we had 2,000 people in the high school, 1,000 of them were girls, and arguably the prettiest girl in the high school went to prom with me. Now, why is that? So I asked her at the 11th hour, thinking, of course, she was so far, she was out of my pay grade, my league, relationally, as well as anybody else, any other guy in our school. She was sort of like knee-buckling beautiful. And because of that, I think nobody asked her to prom. She was of the beauty categories, like, well, nobody will ask. I could never talk to her. I could never ask this girl to prom. And so here's what I think. I think what Jesus is, one thing he's doing is teaching us, hey, we should do this. Go saddle up to the creator of the universe and the creator of summer and have a conversation. Have a nice, calm, wonderful conversation with him. All you have to do is ask. I think if you ask, first of all, he's going to help you. Secondly, I don't think it has to be what we talked about yesterday. It doesn't have to be this. You don't have to spend an evening in concentrated prayer, as the note said. Just comfortable conversation. And then here's the thing: the just ask part is all you have to do is ask. And I think if we ask, we'll find ourselves on a date with the prettiest God in town.